In the eerie calm that followed their battle with the gatekeeper, Netherton Towers seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The oppressive air of dread that had once blanketed the 13th floor lifted, leaving in its wake a haunting tranquility. Amidst this spectral serenity, two figures stood, Moira and Seraphina, victors of a battle that had been fought in shadows and whispers. They found themselves in a room that bore the scars of their struggle, a grim testament to the reality of their recent ordeal. The shattered remnants of antique furniture lay strewn around, the rich wallpaper scarred by the energy bursts of the duel, and the air still tinged with the scent of spent magic and burnt wood. It was a chaotic tableau, a stark contrast to the grandeur that the 13th floor once boasted. As the adrenaline ebbed away, the magnitude of their accomplishment began to sink in. They had faced an entity of pure malevolence, an ancient sentinel guarding the gate to the abyss, and they had emerged victorious. However, the victory did not bring the jubilation they might have expected. Instead, they were gripped by a deep exhaustion, a mental, physical, and spiritual drain that was the toll for their battle. In the aftermath, they found themselves drawn to the large antique mirror that had miraculously survived their battle. The mirror, once a symbol of vanity, now served a different purpose. As they gazed upon their reflections, it wasn't their disheveled appearances that held their attention. Instead, they saw a reflection of their journey, two individuals who had walked through fire and brimstone, who had stared into the eyes of horror and held their ground. Yet the mirror also showed them the stark changes that their journey had wrought. Moira, the audacious truth-seeker, now bore the mark of the unseen world, her eyes holding a depth that belied her previous skepticism. Seraphina, the spiritual guide, was no longer just a medium. She had become a beacon, her spirit shining bright with the power she had harnessed. The reflections of the battle served as a harsh reminder of their ordeal, but it also fortified their resolve. The victory, the changes within themselves, and the lingering unease were all pieces of a larger puzzle, heralding that their journey was far from over. As they stood amidst the wreckage of the battle, reflecting on their trials and triumphs, they felt a sense of unity, and a silent vow passed between them. A vow to face the forthcoming challenges together, a pledge to rise above the despair and stand strong against the gathering storm. The calm that had settled over Netherton Towers following their victory against the gatekeeper was shattered in a way neither Moira nor Seraphina could have anticipated. There was no grand spectacle, no hellish fanfare announcing the arrival of a new threat. Instead, it was a slow, creeping menace, an undercurrent of malevolence that seeped into the very bones of the building and the souls of its occupants. The first indication was a chill that had nothing to do with the weather, a bone-deep coldness that clung to the rooms and hallways of the 13th floor. The once grand chandeliers flickered with an unnatural glow, the opulence of the floor now feeling oppressive and foreboding. There were whispers, too, an echo of words spoken in a language long forgotten, permeating the silence of the night. But the curse was not content with just casting a shadow over the 13th floor. It began to spread, like a malignant entity, reaching down into the other levels of Netherton Towers, imbuing the whole building with a sense of unease. The residents began to report odd occurrences, shadows where none should be, whispers in the quietest hours, objects moving on their own. A dread seeped into the residents' lives, turning the once coveted address into a place of nervous whispers and fearful glances. Moira and Seraphina, the epicenter of this unfolding maelstrom, felt the full brunt of the curse. The spectral inhabitants of the 13th floor grew restless, their forms flickering in and out of existence with alarming frequency. The walls of their apartments seemed to breathe, contracting and expanding with an erratic rhythm, as if the building itself was in distress. Their sleep was plagued by nightmares, intense and horrifyingly vivid, dreams of fiery chasms, of shrieking specters, and a dark figure lurking in the shadows. They would wake up in the dead of night, cold sweat clinging to their bodies, their breaths ragged and hearts pounding. In the midst of all this, the most chilling development was perhaps the curse's effect on time. Clocks throughout the 13th floor began to malfunction, hands spinning out of control or freezing at eerie hours. The passage of time became unpredictable. Hours would stretch into what felt like days, and sometimes days would blur into a mere few hours. This was the curse that had been unleashed upon Netherton Towers, a spectral affliction that threatened to plunge the building and its occupants into an abyss of never-ending despair. The peace they had hoped to achieve seemed like a distant dream now, replaced by an urgent need to confront this new, chilling menace. As the curse gnawed away at their peace, Moira and Seraphina knew that they needed answers. The only clues they had were the vestiges of Lawson's work, the desperate ramblings of a man who had dabbled too deeply into the occult and opened a gateway to the unknown. Once more, they found themselves sifting through the maddening array of artifacts, notes, and books left behind in Lawson's office. However, amidst the madness, they found a hidden section in his desk. A loose bottom panel revealed a secret compartment inside which lay an old, battered diary. The last entries of this diary contained revelations that would change their understanding of the gatekeeper and the curse. Lawson had scribbled notes in hurried handwriting, a clear sign of his descending madness, but also his increasing desperation. He spoke of the gatekeeper, not as an evil entity, but as a custodian, a sentinel tasked with keeping the balance between realms. The gatekeeper, as it turned out, was a force of equilibrium, neither benevolent nor malevolent. According to Lawson's writings, the gatekeeper was not the origin of the curse, but was rather its warder. It was the pact between Lawson and the gatekeeper that had kept the curse at bay, confined within the gatekeeper himself. The curse was not born of hell, but was an ancillary result of the unnatural tearing of the fabric between the mortal and immortal realms, a backlash of cosmic energy corrupted by human interference. Their fight with the gatekeeper, while necessary for their survival, had resulted in an unforeseen consequence: the release of the curse, now unfettered by the pact or the gatekeeper's control. Lawson's diary also suggested a potential solution, a way to rebind the curse and restore balance, but it was a partial revelation, with Lawson's final entries descending into incomprehensible scribbles and cryptic symbols. Regardless, the Keeper's secret offered them a glimmer of hope, a possibility that they might not just survive this curse, but could also fight back. Armed with this knowledge and burdened by the weight of their task, Moira and Seraphina knew that the path ahead was fraught with peril. They had uncovered the Keeper's secret, but to turn this knowledge into a weapon against the curse, they would need more understanding, more power, and most of all, more courage. Little did they know that their quest for answers would lead them to the heart of the city's forgotten past. In the face of the growing threat, Seraphina found her spiritual abilities evolving. Perhaps it was the proximity to the curse, or perhaps it was the sheer necessity of survival, but she started experiencing visions, profound, vivid apparitions that offered cryptic hints at a possible solution. Her first vision was of the city as it once was, a bustling trading post teeming with life and activity, but there was something off about the scene. The city was enveloped in a soft, shimmering glow, not unlike the aura of the spectral inhabitants of the 13th floor. As the vision progressed, the city morphed, buildings dissolving and reassembling, the landscape changing as centuries flew by in mere moments. Next, she found herself standing in front of an ancient shrine. It was not a place she recognized, yet it felt eerily familiar, its aura resonating with the same energy as the 13th floor of Netherton Towers. Inside the shrine, she saw a statue, an angelic figure holding a staff in one hand and a sphere in the other. The sphere pulsed with a brilliant light that bathed the entire shrine. Her third vision was the most disturbing. It was a terrifying glimpse of Netherton Towers completely consumed by the curse. The building was a twisted version of itself, the architecture distorted as if warped by some unseen force. Its residents were spectral echoes, caught in a loop of their own despair. Moira was among them, a flickering shadow of her former self, a testament to the failure of their mission. These visions were not passive experiences for Seraphina. Each one left her drained, her energy sapped as if she had physically traveled to these places. But with each vision, her resolve to fight the curse hardened. She was determined not to let the terrifying image of their future become a reality. As frightening as they were, the visions provided invaluable clues. The historic city indicated a connection to the past. The shrine suggested a possible source of power, while the statue could be a symbol of protection or an artifact of control. The terrifying future of Netherton Towers served as a chilling reminder of the stakes. Piecing together these fragments of insights became their next challenge. A challenge that would require them to venture into the city's forgotten past, to places long abandoned, in search of answers that could save their present. The visions were a burden, but they were also a gift, a beacon of hope in their dark journey against the curse. With the clues from Seraphina's visions in mind, Moira and Seraphina delved into the annals of the city's history. They spent countless hours in the city library, poring over dusty, forgotten tomes of Netherton's past. The library was a labyrinth of information, its grandiose halls echoing with the silent tales of ages past. They started with the city's inception, tracking its evolution from a small trading post to the sprawling metropolis it was today. It was a journey through centuries of growth, battles, plagues, and prosperity. As they delved deeper, they discovered tales of supernatural occurrences, echoes of their own experiences reflected in the city's past. One record caught their attention, a collection of first-hand accounts penned by Netherton's oldest families, titled Netherton's Lost Chronicles. These tales spoke of apparitions, of haunting whispers, and of a particular location that seemed to be a nexus of these occurrences, a shrine known in older times as the Sanctuary of Seraphs. The Sanctuary of Seraphs was an ancient edifice built by the first settlers of Netherton, an homage to the celestial beings they believed protected their city. As time passed and the city modernized, the sanctuary was forgotten, its importance reduced to nothing more than local folklore. Yet the accounts in Netherton's Lost Chronicles revealed a significant detail. The statue at the heart of the sanctuary bore a striking resemblance to the one in Seraphina's vision. Fueled by this discovery, they traced the sanctuary's location, only to realize that the shrine had long since been demolished. In its place now stood the grand structure of Netherton Towers. Their building, the very ground beneath their feet, was the city's forgotten shrine. As they unraveled these forgotten tales, Moira and Seraphina felt an odd sense of déjà vu, a feeling of threads from the past intertwining with their present. The revelations also brought a mix of trepidation and exhilaration. They were on the right path, the clues aligning to guide them toward a solution. However, knowing that Netherton Towers was built on a site of such historical and supernatural significance also made their mission more daunting. The curse they were fighting was not just a spectral affliction, but a twisted tapestry of their city's history. To fight it, they would need to delve deeper into Netherton's lost chronicles, hoping to find a way to rebind the curse and restore balance. Little did they know that their journey was about to take a dire turn. With the revelations about Netherton Towers' past, an unsettling silence descended on Moira and Seraphina. Their journey into the city's history had opened doors they were not entirely prepared for. Unraveling the past had brought them face to face with the restless spirits that dwelled in their home, trapped between realms and caught in the throes of the curse. There were spirits that Moira recognized. Mrs. Higgins, the elderly woman who lived down the hall and passed away a few years back. The Martins, a family that vanished without a trace one night. Each spirit a former resident of the 13th Floor, each a victim of the curse. Their spectral presence was a chilling testament to the severity of their plight. However, amidst the familiar faces, there were others. These spirits were of another era, their outfits archaic, their mannerisms hinting at a time long past. These, they realized, were the spirits of Netherton's earliest settlers, the ones who had built the Sanctuary of Seraphs. Their presence within the tower was a haunting reminder of the building's past, the layers of history it held within its concrete shell. The spirits were not hostile, instead they were trapped, echoing fragments of their past lives. Some were locked in their death moments, their spectral faces frozen in expressions of terror or confusion. Others were caught in happier times, their ghostly forms going about daily routines that they had once lived. This spectral echo became more profound at midnight when the boundary between realms thinned. The 13th floor came alive with spectral apparitions, a chilling tableau of the past playing out in ghostly silence. It was eerie and terrifying, yet oddly melancholic. But Moira and Seraphina knew better than to get lost in this haunting spectacle. These spirits, these echoes of the past, were not just remnants of a forgotten era. They were a key to understanding the curse, to uncovering a way to fight back. Each spirit was a piece of the puzzle, a strand in the twisted web of the curse that now held Netherton Towers in its grip. Armed with their newfound understanding of their spectral neighbors, Moira and Seraphina prepared to confront the past head-on. They were about to embark on a chilling journey, a spectral dance with the spirits of the past, in hopes of securing a future for their beloved city. This was their mission, their path forward, a path that would lead them through the corridors of time and the shadows of Netherton's forgotten history. Their investigation into Netherton's past led Moira and Seraphina to discover an ancient rite, the Ritual of Ascendancy, recorded in a brittle, parchment-thin book hidden in the depths of the city library. This ritual, it seemed, was the key to not only communicate with the spirits, but potentially to free them from their spectral shackles. The Ritual of Ascendancy was believed to open a conduit between realms, a bridge between the living and the dead. The ritual required several artifacts, sacred items of significance to the sanctuary of Seraphs and its original worshippers. Each object held a connection to the past, an echo of the city's history that resonated with the spectral energies of the 13th floor. Moira and Seraphina embarked on a quest to retrieve these items, their journey taking them to the oldest corners of Netherton, places where the past seemed to linger in the air, almost tangible. Once they had gathered all necessary items, an ancient candelabrum, a centuries-old incense burner, an engraved stone tablet that detailed the ritual itself, and a lock of hair from a living descendant of the city's founders, a strand from Moira sufficed. They prepared to perform the Ritual of Ascendancy on the 13th floor. They chose the midnight hour, the boundary between realms at its thinnest. They carefully arranged the artifacts, forming a circle in the center of the floor. The atmosphere was electric, a sense of anticipation humming in the air as Moira lit the candles of the candelabrum, and Seraphina began to chant in a language older than the city itself. The ritual was a stirring experience. The air thickened, charged with spectral energy. The circle of light created by the candles flickered and danced, casting long, eerie shadows. The words of the ritual resonated through the halls, the ancient language echoing with a power that felt as old as time itself. Slowly, the spectral inhabitants of the 13th floor started to appear, drawn by the energy of the ritual. They gathered at the edge of the circle, their ghostly faces reflecting an odd mix of curiosity and hope. It was a surreal sight, a meeting of two realms, a testament to the power of the Ritual of Ascendancy. As the ritual reached its crescendo, a brilliant light burst from the circle, illuminating the 13th floor. For a moment, the spectral figures became more tangible, their ghostly forms gaining a solidity they hadn't had in centuries. And in that moment of crossing over, Moira and Seraphina felt a connection to the spirits, a shared understanding of their plight. But their mission was far from over. The Ritual of Ascendancy was only the first step in understanding and combating the curse. With this newfound connection to the spirits, they would delve deeper into the secrets of Netherton Towers. The spectral inhabitants, now their guides in navigating the labyrinth of the city's forgotten past. The stakes were high, but Moira and Seraphina were determined to confront whatever the 13th floor had in store. The Ritual of Ascendancy had unveiled a new perspective of their spectral existence. Now, the spirits that had been trapped within the confines of the 13th floor were more tangible, more present. Their ghostly figures glowed with an ethereal light, their presence a haunting reminder of the city's forgotten past. But there was a change, a shift in their ethereal demeanor. Moira and Seraphina, armed with the knowledge of the ritual, were now able to communicate with these spirits. They learned their stories, their names, their unfinished tales that they were bound to repeat in their spectral existence. Each spirit held a piece of the puzzle that was the curse of the 13th floor. Among these spirits, they met Elizabeth, a settler from Netherton's early days, who had been a devotee at the sanctuary of Seraphs. From her, they learned about the temple's initial decline, the advent of new faith, the slow forgetting of old beliefs, the abandonment of the sacred site. Then there was Edward, a former mayor of Netherton from a more recent era, who revealed a tale of greed and ambition. In his quest to modernize the city, he had sanctioned the construction of Netherton Towers, ignoring the site's sacred past and inadvertently awakening the dormant curse. These conversations were not just enlightening, they were harrowing. To hear the tales of loss, of mistakes that spiraled into a centuries-old curse, was a heavy burden, but it also steeled their resolve. With each conversation, Moira and Seraphina learned more about the nature of the curse, its ties to the city's history, and the steps needed to break it. This newfound understanding led them to attempt the impossible, to guide the spirits towards liberation, to ascend from their abyss. Through the Ritual of Ascendancy, they sought to provide the spirits with a sense of closure, allowing them to move on from their trapped existence. Their first attempt was with Elizabeth. With her guidance, they performed the ritual, replaying the forgotten hymns of the sanctuary of Seraphs, offering prayers to the celestial beings she once worshipped. As the ritual reached its peak, a brilliant light engulfed Elizabeth, her form shimmering with ethereal energy. And then, with a soft sigh, she disappeared, her spirit finally at peace. One by one, they repeated the process with each spirit. It was a grueling task, emotionally draining but ultimately rewarding. Each spirit's liberation felt like a victory, a step towards restoring the balance that had been disturbed so many years ago. But the biggest challenge lay ahead. The 13th floor was not just a home to the spirits, it was the epicenter of the curse. To truly free the building and the city from the spectral chains, they would need to confront the very heart of the curse, buried deep within the forgotten realms of the city's past. The final act of their spectral ballet was upon them, and it promised to be the most daunting yet. With the spirits of Netherton Towers finally finding peace, the air in the building felt different, lighter, less laden with sorrow. The spectral echoes of the past had faded, replaced by a palpable sense of relief. The 13th floor, once a liminal space trapped between realms, was slowly returning to the world of the living. But there was one last task for Moira and Seraphina, confronting the curse's heart. Their journey through the city's history and their interactions with the spirits had provided them with crucial knowledge. The curse, they discovered, was anchored in the city's guilt, the collective regret over abandoning their ancient faith and desecrating sacred ground. The final step, they realized, was an act of reconciliation, a tribute to Netherton's past that would finally put the city's guilt to rest. Armed with their newfound understanding, and driven by the urgency of their mission, they planned a citywide event, the Reconciliation Festival. This festival was a tribute to the city's history, a celebration of its diverse cultural heritage. It was a reminder of the city's origins, of the ancient faith that once thrived in Netherton, of the sanctuary of seraphs that had once stood proudly where Netherton Towers now loomed. The festival saw the participation of every city resident, their collective efforts a testament to the city's unity and determination to right past wrongs. As the festival reached its peak, Moira and Seraphina performed the ritual of ascendancy for the last time in the heart of the 13th floor. But this time, they were not alone. The entire city stood with them, their collective hopes and prayers echoing through the halls of Netherton Towers. This final ritual was different. The energy was stronger, the connection to the past more palpable. As they completed the ritual, a brilliant light filled the 13th floor, expanding outward to engulf the entire building, then the city. It felt as if time itself held its breath, the world falling silent in that single, luminous moment. Then, as quickly as it had come, the light receded, leaving behind a city transformed. The air was clear, the spectral energy that once hung over the 13th floor now gone. The curse had been lifted. Netherton Towers was just a building again, its floors filled with life and laughter, devoid of spectral inhabitants. Netherton was free. Moira and Seraphina, the unlikely saviors of their city, stood amidst the cheers of their fellow residents, the weight of their mission finally lifted. They had done it. Together, they had guided their city out of its spectral past and into a new era of hope and reconciliation. As dawn broke over the city, it marked not just a new day, but the beginning of a new chapter in Netherton's history, a chapter free of curses and hauntings, a chapter of peace. Bathed in the rosy glow of the new dawn, Moira and Seraphina reveled in their victory. The joy of the city's residents echoed around them, filling the air with a vibrancy that the city hadn't seen for centuries. However, as they basked in the celebration, a jarring sound echoed through the air. A low, mocking laugh filled the air, and a chilling presence descended upon them. A woman appeared, her features as beautiful as they were cruel. She had piercing red eyes that burned with malice. "Oh, you foolish humans," she hissed. "Did you really believe it would be so easy to dismantle my grand plan?" Moira and Seraphina watched, horror-stricken, as the woman continued. "Netherton Towers was just the beginning. This city is riddled with ancient curses, each one more powerful than the last. I've been planning this for over 5,000 years. I'm not about to let two meddling mortals ruin it." She raised her hand, energy crackling menacingly around her fingers, ready to strike them down. But before she could, a portal shimmered into existence beside them. Without a second thought, they threw themselves into it, escaping the demon's wrath by a hair's breadth. The world blurred around them before they landed in an entirely different space. Looking up, they found themselves staring into the kind eyes of Edward Netherton, the founder of the city. You have seen but the tip of the iceberg, he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. What you experienced was a dream, a simulation of sorts. The true challenge is far greater. His gaze bore into theirs. You need to understand the full extent of this curse. It's not enough to confront it piece by piece. You need to uproot it completely, and for that you'll need to start from the very beginning. With a wave of his hand, a cascade of images filled the air, the city's history unfolding before them. Watch, learn, and prepare. I still need time to gather the information necessary to aid you. The towers were merely the first battleground. Many more await us. The war for Netherton has only just begun. With a final grave look, he faded away, leaving Moira and Seraphina alone once more with the daunting task ahead. Dawn might have broken over the city, but for Moira and Seraphina, the long night was far from over. They would have to face the reality of the spectral web that enmeshed their city, confront the red-eyed demon, and with the guidance of Edward Netherton, seek to save their city from a fate far worse than they had ever imagined. Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. We're so excited to have you here and share our content with you. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.